everybody, how are you today? I'm Shelly Palmer and welcome to Web3 Wednesday. I am so happy to have everybody here. As you know, today, of course, is the 4th of May, so may the 4th be with you. I guess this is really the unofficial Star Wars Day, probably should be. But anyway, happy May 4th, everybody. Tomorrow's Cinco de Mayo. We've already just had May Day. In New York, it's rainy and horrifying, but it's spring and we're all excited about that. Tell me where you are. Tell me what you're doing. Chat is where it's at. Welcome, Charlie from Detroit, and welcome, Frank from Pennsylvania. Please, everyone, just say where you are, say what you do. Of course, you can chat with each other, and it's Ask Me Anything today. So it's an Ask Me Anything Wednesday. We have a lot to cover here. It is, of course, Star Wars Day, but we're not going to talk much about Star Wars. What we are going to talk about just a little bit is that anything you want to discuss with me about Web3, about technology, media, entertainment, and marketing, it's all happening on Discord, discord.gg/Shelly Palmer. That's where the conversation is happening. Of course, right now, the chat is happening here. So what's your name? Where are you? Doug from Washington. Welcome. I'm glad everybody's here today. I'm excited about, just everything today. Just super excited. And the thing I'm most excited about is we are going to do a little experiment. How many of you know what a POAP is? It's a proof of attendance protocol token. So today I thought would be fun to build a little POAP for everybody so that you could prove you were here. So the way you do this is you either use your smartphone and shoot the screen, and that will take you through a process where you can mint free of charge your POAP token. It's an NFT. Or you can go to shellypalmer.com/POAP, P-O-A-P, and just fill in the form, and then you will be given the opportunity to click a link and mint your NFT. It should be a lot of fun. So we haven't done proof of attendance tokens, but I thought since we're constantly talking about Web3, we might as well do something fun. So a POAP is a super easy, super breezy way, no cost whatsoever. What are we going to do with them? That's an interesting question. Sure, you're going to get an NFT. It'll go in your digital wallet if you've got a MetaMask, or you can use your email and view it on POAP's website, poap.xyz. You can definitely just do that. But what we're going to do over the next month or so is we are going to have you accumulate your POAPs. They'll all be different tokens. I'm going to be doing this at my speaking engagements as well, my live speaking engagements. Welcome, David Hool, and welcome, Patricia from Arizona, and welcome, Chick from Brooklyn, and welcome, Michael from Redondo Beach. This is fantastic. And Tom Herman, welcome from Connecticut. I'm so glad everybody's here today. We're talking POAPs right now and what we're going to do with them. So what's the point of a POAP? Well, there really is no point except it proves that you were in attendance somewhere, unless the creator or the issuer of the POAP builds some utility into the project. And that's precisely what I thought we would all do together over the next month or so. You can accumulate your POAPs, the Shelly Palmer POAPs, from Web3 Wednesdays, or if you attend one of my public appearances. And if verification failed, what? We can't have verification failing. POAP shouldn't be failing. We are fully online. Let's see. Oh, no, people are, in fact, you can only get one Shelly Palmer token. I see that there's already this second, already 4 of you have already done it, so it seems to be going fairly quickly here. Careful not to accumulate more than one. It will like your email address only one time. So anyway, we're going to try to build some utility into all of this, and that's the most important part of this, building utility into the NFT. What do I mean by utility? Well, once you have done this, what will the accumulated tokens do for you? Well, you'll be able to get some merch from the library of the Palmer Group. We will have some cool merch. You'll be able to get tickets for VIP experiences. We're just going to demonstrate what the data collection aspects would be, and look at all of these failed verifications. I don't understand that precisely. Let me have a quick look over here. Now I'm all sort of like wondering. We do have a bunch of people who've claimed them and a bunch of people who are saying the verifications have failed. Aha. Well, let's do a very quick look and see what's happening. Give me 1 second here, and let's see what's going on, because I think it's a good thing for us to do. So we're taking a little bit of a commercial break as I just quickly check and see what's happening. Let's see what's happening. Going over to POAP, and I'm going to go check and see why. No, we got, there's like 65 people have already claimed them, so that's interesting. It may be that too many of you are trying all at once. So I tell you what, that I think we've overwhelmed the system. That's what's happening. Hello, EB Moss. Hello, Tom from Carlsbad. Hey, Laura. I'm sorry that this is not working out right now. I will put this up a couple more times over the next little bit, and we'll see. We may have just too many people hitting this thing at once. Wow, we broke the internet. That's amazing. Let's give it a second, because it looks like it's fully online. It really does, and it looks like it's fully working. It also looks a little bit like it's overwhelmed. So let me see what's happening here. Yeah, it seems okay. It just seems overwhelmed. Yeah, we have, like I said, about 60 of you have already gotten them. Wow. Okay. Well, we'll see what happens. All right, we're going to move on. We're going to get back to it. There's a little game you can set up with the POAP thing, which slows down the uptake. Yeah, it's just too many people. Okay. Wow, we've overwhelmed the system. I love the fact that we broke the internet. Yeah, I love that. I'm sad about it in one respect, but I actually love the fact we broke the internet. We'll bring all that back in a minute, and we'll see. Again, it's shellypalmer.com/POAP. See what happens as we go forward. I'm just really, really fascinated by how we were able to break this. Really fascinated by it, because it shouldn't break. Like, this is not something that should break. Pretty fascinating. All right, we're going to move on, because we are. So, what the big news this week, we had the crypto letters. The crypto letter wars showed up this week. And by the way, it still Ask Me Anything, so I understand that there are a whole bunch of 60 POAPs are claimed, because we've got some of them were already. Oh no, I don't have the Yeah, 61 actually, Frank. There are about 47 people watching this second, but yeah, no, 61 have been claimed. I'm not quite sure. What we may have right now is, because I didn't put the farming restriction on, what we may have, in fact, I think I know what's happening here. You can put a little game on. Here, we'll go back to this for a second. You put a little game on with POAPs where you make people have to wait 30 seconds or more if you have an online experience. And people do what's known as POAP farming, which is really unfortunate. What we could be the victim of right now, and in fact, I can see that we are, based on the volume and velocity. Yeah, that's interesting too. People just go and start. I don't have a restriction on the number you can, the number of times you can download or approach this. I could have, but I thought it would annoy you. They have this like little 30-second game where you match the color, match the color, match the color, and it regulates the amount of time between when you can get a POAP and when you can't. So, we may have to do that next time and see if we can restrict this. I was hoping that we wouldn't have anybody coming in here to sabotage our POAPs, but apparently we have. So yeah, you're right, Frank. We shouldn't have 60. And the reason that we do is that someone is banging these out right now. That looks terrible. Okay, well, moving on. We will live and learn. I guess we can't trust our community as best as I thought we can. Someone who's watching is attacking. So, yeah, farming my POAPs. And by the way, at the moment, they have no value except that, for us to talk about. But we learned something today, and that's the most important part. All right, crypto letters. Crypto letters today, really interesting. Two of them. The House Democrats wrote a letter to Michael S. Regan, the administrator of the Environmental Protection Agency, a while back. And Jared Huffman, the Democrat from San Rafael, California, was the main signer, and then a whole bunch of House Democrats signed. And this letter, which you should read, I have a copy of it here. You can go to shellypalmer.com. It's called The Crypto Letters. This is I don't know if you can see that. This is a letter from the congressperson. And it just, I'm going to read you the first sentence or two because it makes sense to read the first sentence or two here. We write to request that the Environmental Protection Agency ensure cryptocurrency mining facilities are not violating the foundational environmental statutes like Clean Air Act or Clean Water Act. We have serious concerns regarding reports that cryptocurrency facilities across the country are polluting communities and are having an outsized contribution to greenhouse gas emissions. As cryptocurrency gains popularity, it is essential to understand the environmental risks and pollution associated with this industry. What? They're using electricity. They don't make electricity. Cryptocurrency mining doesn't make electricity. It doesn't create waste. It uses electricity. Coal-fired electrical plants create carbon emissions and create environmental hazards, for sure. So what is the impact of any data center? What is the impact of leaving your lights on? That's the equivalent of saying, well, your computer is causing additional greenhouse gases. I guess in sub-abstraction, you could say, yes, I'm buying electricity from the power company. So if I buy a lot of electricity, then in some theory, I could say I am a larger contributor to greenhouse gas emissions than someone who buys less electricity. But what does an AWS or a Microsoft or a Google data center use? What does a factory use? Bitcoin miners, cryptocurrency miners, proof of work miners use electricity. But how much electricity? Well, another letter came out this week, and this letter was by or from Michael Saylor. It was also to Michael S. Reagan, who's the Environmental Protection Agency administrator. And this was signed by pretty much everyone reading this guy. This one was signed by pretty much everybody in crypto land. And what Michael Saylor is, he goes down point for point, and they really talk about the misunderstanding of what's happening with respect to what the House Democrats wrote in their letter. And by the way, look, I'm not saying that we shouldn't look carefully at the amount of electricity used by everything. I mean, electricity is expensive, and the less of it we use, the happier we're going to be. But saying that the crypto mining is worse for the world than charging electric cars, does that make any sense? It's like charging an electric car is okay, but running a computer is not. Why? They both use electricity. Electricity, you know, it's kind of it's just crazy. Now, here are a couple things you need to know. When you think about the difference in usage of electricity between proof of work, like Bitcoin mining, and current Ethereum mining, and what Ethereum will be like after the merge, where they go to proof of stake, that's like a 99% reduction in computational requirements, the computational power requirements. So you will use less electricity in proof of stake than you do right now in proof of work. Bitcoin will always be proof of work, I think. That's the way that the Bitcoin chain is set up. Their blockchain is set up, and we're going to talk about that today. That's sort of the biggest conversation we're going to have today. Really, what's up with proof of work, proof of stake? What is staking? How do you stake? Who stakes? We'll talk about that. I do talk about it pretty significantly in Blockchain. It's a book that I wrote about, it's almost a year now. And if you go to shellypalmer.com/blockchain, there are really a giant bunch of blockchain resources there: Web3, DeFi, NFTs, smart contracts, cryptocurrency, tokenomics. You just learn about that stuff there. So if this is interesting to you, there's a really nice resource page there, and the book is also available. Let's talk a little bit about what happened to Bored Ape Yacht Club this past week, and I think this will help us get a good understanding, or a better understanding of what's going on with proof of work, proof of stake, mining in general. So, okie dokie. Oh, what's happened here? There we go. What happened to Bored Ape was really interesting. They, as you may recall, decided that they were going to build a virtual world, a metaverse, and their other side is the name of it. And they were going to sell tokens. Other Deeds was the NFT token that was going to be for land, virtual land. And they were running, you had to buy them in ApeCoin, and they were costing roughly $5,800 equivalent in US dollars when it was done. And while it was done in ApeCoin needed to use the Ethereum mainnet to complete the transactions. So each mint had a gas fee. This is a $5,800 purchase that you're making. The gas fees were between 2.6 and 5 ETH a piece. That's anywhere from, at the time, between $6,500 and $14,000 of gas fees associated. So they had the largest NFT raise ever in the history of NFTs. They raised $320 million of capital. The gas fees were $123 million. Think about that for a minute. Cost $123 million in gas fees to accumulate $320 million. Ouch. That's horrifying. It's like, it was almost 38%. Is that a number like that? Yeah, that's incredible. So yesterday, they announced that, I mean, at the time they said, well, we'll have to look at maybe, doing our own blockchain. I mean, that's total nonsense. Bored Ape is not doing their own blockchain. When Ethereum goes to proof of stake, those gas fees would have been negligible or close, at or close to zero. But not at zero, but at or close, really, really low. What they did announce, though, is that they are thinking about using Polygon, which has really low gas fees because it is already a proof of stake blockchain that is Ethereum compatible. That's Ethereum mainnet compatible. So the smart contracts work the same way, and they're written very similarly. And I think you're going to see Bored Ape and Polygon announce very soon, if they haven't already, that they're going to integrate with Polygon. So that would solve for that. So now the question becomes, what is proof of stake versus proof of work? Like, what is it? And this past weekend, I went not super deep, but deep enough. The article is called Staking ETH, Pool or Solo. That's the name of the article. And the question that you're asking, or you want to ask yourself, is proof of work versus proof of stake. And if proof of stake is what's happening, is that something you want to be involved in? And if so, how would you want to get involved? So I want to discuss this in stages, if you will, so that we can understand, for our own, just our own knowledge, what this is, what does it look like, and what should you do? Realistically, what should you do? So those are the questions we're going to ask right now. Proof of work, just for those of you who don't know, you solve a mathematical puzzle with your computer. You get there first. If you're the first computer to do the work, there's a consensus that's built. When enough computers agree that that is the correct answer, a consensus is had. That consensus mechanism then propagates throughout the blockchain, and it's very computationally intensive. There is an awful lot of computational power that goes into it, hence the giant amount of electricity that goes into it. And it's vilified just because of how much current it uses. It uses a lot. No one's going to say it doesn't. Proof of stake is a little bit different. instead of having nodes, validator nodes that solve a very intense mathematical puzzle and then propagate it and get consensus, and the proof of work, the work that you are the first to finish and then you get your reward. Proof of stake's a little bit different. Proof of stake, you stake a certain amount of your currency. In Ethereum's case, it's going to be 32 ETH. You are 32 ETH at whatever it's trading at, won't matter. They're looking for 32 Ether is the stake. You could put in more, it won't help you. If you have more than 32 Ether to stake, you'll do it as a separate set of keys. There are 3 different ways that you can stake ETH. Way number 1, you can go to a know your customer style exchange like Coinbase or Kraken or anybody else that's got a know your customer exchange, and they will probably be offering some way to stake ETH. They will tell you that there's some annual rate of return, a couple points, 1.5% to 4%, somewhere in there. Depends on who it is. Depends on the cut they're taking. Depends on the risk profile. Depends if they're asking you to put in all 32 or if you can put in a fraction. Maybe you only have 10 ETH or 5 ETH or 1 ETH that you want to stake. If you're going to hold on to your Ether, you may want to consider either solo staking or pool staking as opposed to staking through an exchange. Staking through an exchange is no different than making any other investment in any other kind of financial instrument. Now, again, we don't give financial advice here at Web3 Wednesday, and I'm not a licensed financial advisor, so this is for your information and entertainment. Remember, cryptocurrency is inherently risky, and if you're going to make an investment in cryptocurrency or anything like that, you should go see a licensed financial professional and get really good advice and do your homework, because be prepared to really take a bath if you get some of this wrong. And even if you get it right, just be prepared. So not financial advice. But that said, so if you go to Coinbase and you stake ETH, if they offer an instrument like that, I don't know whether they are or not. And I am sure about certain things, but I'm not going to endorse in any way that you go to Coinbase or Binance or Kraken or KuCoin or any of the exchanges. I am personally not endorsing that or telling you to do it. If you went to an exchange and they offered a way to stake ETH, some of them are offering fractional, some of them are saying you need all 32, and they're offering some rate of return. Again, it's exactly the same as going and investing in anything. You invest, and it's got a risk profile, which you should understand. There are 2 other ways to do it. The other 2 ways are you can solo stake your ETH, or you can stake ETH in a pool, and you can also stake ETH in a pool where in a non-custodial pool where you actually keep your keys, which is pretty interesting. So what does that all mean? Let's go through it just one thing at a time. We've covered the exchanges. If you're solo staking ETH, you can go to Launchpad, which is the Ethereum website that explains exactly how this gets done. And it is a good place to start your journey from a reading perspective. The Staking Launchpad website, in the article, Staking ETH, I just put this back up so you guys can see it. In this article, Staking ETH, pool or solo at shellypalmer.com, this article will give you the links to the Ethereum Staking Launchpad and also give you a good understanding of what they're trying to solve and what Ethereum's vision, the Ethereum Foundation's vision is for this, because you want to understand that. To solo stake means that you are going to put 32 ETH in limbo for 2 years. It will be staked using some software. You will hold the keys. It's yours, but it's tied up. If you're a hodler or someone who's going to hold their ETH for a long time, the published annual rate of return right now, I think, is 4.4%. At least it was early this morning. I've seen it as high as 5.5%. That means you're going to get roughly 1.5 ETH every year, compounded however they compound it. So 32 gets you 33.5 at the end of the year. And, another 5%, assuming the interest rate stays the same or approximately the same. How do you get it? The software has to run on something. So you're going to take a computer, but not an intense computer, not something with a very powerful graphics card, not something that's hardcore. You're just going to take a computer, you're going to dedicate it. It's going to need some bandwidth. It's going to need and it needs an IP address that's going to be up 99.9% of the time, because you'll be penalized or slashed if you're not up all the time. You have to keep that software updated, so you're going to have to make sure that you're running the most current, most up-to-date software. So there's some work involved. And then you're going to be tying up 32 ETH, and you'll tie that ETH up for the better part, well, for 2 years, not for the better part, for 2 years. After 2 years, and after some additional Ethereum work gets done on after the merge, or after Ethereum 2.0 becomes a thing, you will be able to take your investment back. You'll be able to unstake your ETH. So you're tying up. Today, Ethereum is at what, about $2,800, something like that. It's roughly $90,000, roughly, somewhere between 88 and 95,000, depending on the day, and what ETH is trading at. So you're going to tie up $100,000. Well, just rounding up, you're going to tie up $100,000 for 2 years at the hope of making somewhere between $4,000 and $5,000 on it. Is that a good investment or a bad investment? Now, what are you doing? You are helping the Ethereum blockchain become proof of stake, save the environment, cut down on energy consumption. The more home nodes there are, the more solo stakers there are, the more secure the network is, because what they're trying to deal with is a thing called the Crypto Trilemma. And the Crypto Trilemma is really well understood. You can have decentralization, scalability, or security. Pick any two. So you can be scalable and decentralized, but it won't be secure. You can be scalable and secure, but it won't be decentralized. You can be secure and decentralized, but it won't scale. And this is just one of those immutable sort of problems in the crypto world. And everyone talks all the time about how will we solve the trilemma. And staking, the way that the Ethereum peeps have thought it through, they believe that they've got the trilemma beat. And so solo staking is the way they're hoping everyone will approach this. Then there's this idea of staking in a pool. Now, to stake in a pool, there's two kinds. If you go to Ethermine, ETHERMINE, if you go to Ethermine, Ethermine is running this non-custodial staking pool. And this is where you are able to stake 32 ETH. You've still got to tie up 32 ETH, but you keep the keys. So they're your coins, your keys. You've got 100% of the credentials. You have no hardware risk. The pool is going to do and handle all the hardware. Now, the good news there is that's hardware risk free. So you're not getting slashed for fraud. You're not getting slashed because you're offline. When the merge happens, Ethermine's going to take, I think, like 10% as a cut. That's still pretty inexpensive, because remember, if you do it yourself, you got to buy the hardware, you got to buy the bandwidth or have the bandwidth. So you may not be set up at home. So that non-custodial solo pool is a really nice alternative to a total solo stake. And then there are pools out there where you can just throw in. They are very similar to the exchange pools, where you can either, some of them you put in all 32 ETH, some will take a fractional amount, and they take a cut, and you have no risk per se, other than the risk of whatever the staking risk would be. So those things are kind of important to talk through. I thought it would be good for us to go over them today. While we're thinking about it, private beta, Metacademy.xyz. I'm going to tell you the link now. You can email me if you want it, but I'm going to tell you the link. To get in the private beta, go to prod.metacademy.xyz. Metacademy.xyz, get into the private beta. We've got a couple hundred people that we've offered that to, and we're looking for feedback. If you want to help us get Metacademy off the ground, it's in private beta right now, and we would love it if you, especially all of you who are so good to us every week and you're here and hanging out with us, love it very much if you would just go deep into Metacademy.xyz, prod.metacademy.xyz, and just please do that and start beating on it and tell us what we've done right and tell us what we've done wrong. I know there's a bunch of stuff we have to deal with. Michael asks, oh, that's such a great question. Let's see, can I put that up? Is that put upable? So Michael Malgary writes, where does Bitcoin fall into the crypto trilemma? That's a great question. So Bitcoin, the limitation is 5 transactions per second. It's not scalable. That's the problem. If they made the blocks bigger, then you, at some point, you'd run out of space on small computers. You'd need to put them in data centers, so that would kill the scalability because so the decentralization rather, because you'd be in data centers. So data centers are by default not decentralized. So they have security and they have decentralization, but they're not scaled. So the Bitcoin transactions are slow. That's why people say, well, you can't really use it as a coin. It's like, right, you can't. It's what Lightning Network was about. So yeah, Bitcoin doesn't fall into, it does fall into it. It is a victim of, if you will, the trilemma. All righty. A couple things, just a couple quick little housekeeping things. I'd love you to check out Techstream with Shelly Palmer and Seth Everett. We talk about pop culture. We talk about the tech you love. We talk about crypto once in a while. We talk about privacy and security. We talk about all kinds of fun stuff. So I hope you'll give a quick, quick listen to Techstream. We'd really like it. Try this again. It looks like this has calmed down a little bit. And this, if you're interested, just give a shot at this POAP. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, we will have to put the little game in place and understand that we can't. We are not immune to people, even with a simple little POAP like this. We have POAP farmers. I would not have believed it. I'm actually a little bit honored and a little bit pissed, actually, because I didn't expect anyone POAP farming with my little POAP experience. Also, just importantly, we are going to be offline for the next 2 weeks. I'm in Germany giving a speech, and then I'm in Tampa, and then I'm in Maryland, and I'm back with my rollerboard living in airports for the next the better part of the next 2 weeks. But 2 weeks after that, just in 2 weeks, we'll be back, and it'll should be all awesome. Again, remember, Discord is where we're having our daily conversations, and I really want everybody to join me there, because that's where all the good convos happen every day. All right, what else we got going on today? Let me just see. There's a couple more questions here. This is a good question. Let's see what this is. Does the APR from staking go during these like Bored Ape mints when So, no. The staking is slow and steady wins the race. The APR from staking has to do with the algorithm, and it has to do with the validator lottery, and there's a bunch of really interesting calculations that go into all of this. And I'd love you to go to the Ethereum. Well, in this article at shellypalmer.com, I don't even want to paraphrase this thing, because you need to read it, and then you need to go to ethereum.org on the appropriate pages, and you need to literally read through how this is calculated, what their vision is, how they're thinking about it. They want to have a scalable solution. They want to have a secure solution, and they clearly want to make this currency a currency for the ages. They want the Ethereum mainnet to be one for the ages. They are really working it hard. I feel like we owe it. You owe it to Ethereum to have a quick, solid look at what they're writing, and then decide if you believe it. Right? Decide if you do. It's not unclear to me whether this is right. I can't figure out, again, not financial advice, other than for the good of the cause. And there's like 300,000 plus nodes, and there's 15, 20,000 people waiting to become nodes. So there's that. But other than that, I really can't figure out what the financial incentive to stake is. 4.4%. It's a terrible arbitrage. It's like $1 million on $1 billion. I'm risking $100,000 to make $5,000 a year, and it's really risking it. Now, Ethereum, the price of Ether could go up, right? I mean, so if but it doesn't change the math. They're only giving you 4.4%. You got to really balance. I'm tying up a ton of assets. Now, if you're going to hold it anyway, maybe it doesn't matter. It's might as well pick up some interest on it. Sure. But then is it worth the extra? Call it you get an extra point if you do it yourself. I'm making this up. You go to an exchange, they're giving you 3.5 as opposed to 4, or they're giving you 3%. So you make 3,000 instead of 5,000, but you're not risking anything, and it's liquid. You can pull it out of there whenever you want. You sell your shares. Like, wait a minute, that's more like a financial instrument. Do I really, for that extra whatever it's going to be, half a point, 1.5? Do I really want to and it's specifically on a 32 ETH investment. That's the other part I'm having trouble dealing with. It's like, let's just for round numbers say that ETH is roughly $3,000. So you're looking at roughly $100,000. If you put in 35 ETH, it doesn't get you anything extra. You don't make any extra money. It's just a 32 ETH chunk. If you put in less, you can't do it. So they're literally asking for, call it $100,000. And they're literally telling you you're going to get $400 off your $100,000. With that level of risk, I've thought this through. I've done the numbers. You couldn't buy a computer for $2,500, then get yourself a static IP address, call it, with electricity, call it $200 a month for a cage somewhere with a static IP address. Let's assume you had a static IP address that only cost you $100 a month. That's still $1,200 a year for the static IP. Like, what if you have a commercial grade internet connection? How does this make sense? So I'm trying to work that out. And anyone out there who's got an answer, Shelly at shellypalmer.com. It's like, hit me. I am all over getting the answer to this. I just have been thinking this through. We did the article on solo staking versus pool staking. And I understand why some people would want to do it just to do it. Like, I feel you, but I'm trying as an investor, as someone who speculates, as someone like, you're buying it to hold it, you expect it to go up. Great. Why risk any of it? Other than the risk that's inherent with the investment. Why am I putting this in a pool where I could get slashed if something happens bad to the pool? Don't really want other people in charge of my ETH. If I'm going to hold my ETH in a non-custodial pool, that's interesting. But if the pool screws up, I can still get slashed. So I've still got the risk of the pool making a mistake. I hope they won't, but they could still do that. So it feels like the risk profile is pretty heavy. And it feels like the reward is pretty light. It's not like they're telling you getting 10 points. It's like, wow, getting 10 points in ETH. I mean, yeah, maybe that's cool. I don't know. And I've been asking everybody, hey, does this make any sense? And the finance people tell me flat out it doesn't make sense, but they're finance people. So crypto people are like, yeah, let's go. And it's like, really? Okay. I don't know the answer to this. If you do, Shelly at shellypalmer.com. Absolutely send me a note and explain to me your rationale for the economics around solo staking versus pool staking versus not staking at all versus just buying and holding if that's what you're going to do. To me, these are real questions. I'm not drinking all the Kool-Aid here because this is actual Kool-Aid now. To me, I'm a big fan of the Ethereum mainnet. I love writing smart contracts. ERC 721s, ERC 1155s. I love these contracts. I love NFTs. I like dealing with them in every way. It's all totally and completely awesome. But this staking thing, this one is getting to me in a pretty serious way. Tokenizer of carbon. Where did the $150 million gas fees go when Bored Apes sold $320 million of virtual land? It went to the miners. That's where gas fees go. No one has any control over this. You should read up on the mining process, although its days are numbered. It's supposed to end now in May, but now everyone thinks it's again been pushed back to the end of the year. This is the gas fees are the fees charged by the miners to process your transactions. So there's a whole bunch of sturm and drang about it. We are always happy to talk about, I'm always happy to talk about gas fees and all that, but gas fees get higher or lower based on network congestion. And what happens is you have to bid up. If you want a miner to take your transaction and get it done, you have to be willing to pay a higher gas fee. It's an auction in every way. So you read up about mining. It's a fascinating thing, mempools and MEV and all of the things that go into mining. I'm a member of a mining pool called Ethermine, ethermine.org, and I mine Ethereum, I mine Ether as a pool member. I contribute about 200 mega hashes a second, which isn't very much, and I'm making roughly $10 a day, somewhere between $6 and $10 a day, depending on the price of ETH. It's probably costing me between $6 and $10 a day in electricity and wear and tear on the machines, but I'm doing it because it's super fun to do and it keeps me involved in the pools, and you can do that too. So anyway, yeah, I would definitely ask you to read about mempools, MEV, the mining process, how it's done, how gas fees are charged, but the Bored Apes didn't see a penny of that. It cost $123 million for them to raise $320 million. That's the way that worked, which is, nuts if you think about it. I mean, it's truly, truly nuts. I say this every week. I'm going to say it again. I'm going to beg you. The fact that it's not in the news cycle every day, the fact that we don't think about it every day. We are so lucky that we live in a country where there aren't tanks rolling down the street, and we are not meant to flee the country, and we are not at war, and we are not being attacked. These people are being displaced every day, and their lives are turned upside down. This link, shellypalmer.com/Ukraine, takes you to an NBC page. It's the Today Show page. Their social responsibility group has vetted a bunch of charities that have boots on the ground in and around the Ukraine and Poland, where the refugees are going. They are providing food and shelter and basic needs and medicine and things everyone there needs desperately. What's so important to me is, if this were happening to us, we would want someone to help us. If this was happening to your loved ones, you would want someone to help them. And so it is critical. Tori Rossetti is here, works at Save the Children, and it's on that list. And I hope that, and there are many other orgs on that list too. I hope you can donate, and I hope you'll give generously. Personally, my great-great-grandfather is from a town. My paternal great-grandfather is from Zhytomyr on the west coast, and on the west side of the Ukraine, and then what was then just part of the Russian Empire, but is now Ukraine. My maternal great-great-grandfather, they both fled in the 1880s during the pogroms and came to the United States to find a better life. And that's how I come to be sitting here today. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. They were refugees from a vicious attack. They had no defense other than to flee. These people are fleeing for their lives, and we can help. So I hope that you'll forgive me for the impassioned plea, but from my perspective, this is about as important a cause as there is. With that, I'll tell you, I am so thrilled always to have each and every one of you here every week. I truly appreciate you hanging out with me. We're off for 2 weeks as I go gallivanting around the world talking about Web3, the metaverse, NFTs, smart contracts, and blockchain, and a little bit of technology, media, and entertainment and marketing, because that's sort of where it all starts for us. I hope you guys are safe. I hope you have a fabulous time. I hope that you enjoy the spring as it unfolds for all of us. And I am very much looking forward to seeing all of you in a couple weeks back here on Web3 Wednesday. Till next time, we'll see you soon.